And the conversation is simply on uncovering and understanding the Bible. Is it true? Is it not true? Is the faith that we practice and believe in the Bible, in Jesus Christ, is it real? And does it hold any historical or archaeological backing to it? And so we're going to get started. We're going to introduce ourselves, our backgrounds, and all that other stuff. And we're going to start with some simple little questions between each other. And then we're going to dive deep. And then after, we're going to try to just do this for a good 60 minutes. I don't want to go past an hour. We're going to take questions. We want to do questions from the audience, all that good stuff. And then we're going to shake hands and move on with it. All right? So you go ahead and give who you are. And that thing.
Yeah. My name is Dion Nelson. I'm 22 years old. I grew up in a household full of Christians myself. As a kid, I went to, church every Sunday, constantly reading the Bible, learning about Christ and God. And for me, when it comes to belief, it's been more of a roller coaster ride, for my whole journey when it comes to belief in general. So what made me kind of change my disposition and my point of view when it comes to belief is when I was about age 14, 15, I had a grandfather. His name was Johnny Ivory. And in my eyes, he was like one of the most brilliant people I knew who only had a third grade education. So from that point forward, I used to try to be like him as a child. Like, man, my grandfather is magnificent. Like, he's great. He can do all these good things. And what sparked something in my mind the most was he only had a third grade education, and he was a carpenter. So he could walk in a building, look at the ceiling and do measurements in his mind. It was insane.
Yeah.
So that right there alone was okay.
It's that black power right there.
It's something brilliant within my grandfather. And around the age 14, 15, he had a stroke. And that led to other illnesses as well. So, but one scripture in the Bible that always used to stick with me was, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish. So around that time, what kind of made me pull back slowly was when he passed. He passed in 2012, April the 2nd, I believe. So when he passed, that scripture kind of it didn't irritate me, but it kind of made me feel okay, he was a man of God. He was a man of Christ. He read every single day. So when he passed, I felt like I was failed at some point. I felt like he passed, so it's all over with. So once he passed away, I kind of pulled back from Christianity alone. But I was still holding on to God because I was like, you know what? Maybe God has a special plan for all of this. And it's the reason why this is happening. But my mind state at 15 didn't understand fully. So about 2 years later, my grandmother had an aneurysm in her mind, in her brain. So she ended up having the illness as well, ended up passing the same exact month, 2 years later. So when she passed away, I'm like, okay, one grandparent gone, the other one gone now. Same month, 2 years apart, both died the same month, 7 days apart. So at that particular moment, me standing with the God concept, and when people tell me that God is good to them and God is a blessing to them, I feel like maybe there's something wrong with me in general, or maybe this concept of God to me is hard to understand, different from everybody else. Because what I see the most is when people say, thank God, thank Jesus, I got this new house, I got a new car, I got this. Then it's we all go through struggles in life. But at the same time, it's okay, one incident, one good thing. One bad incident, one good thing. It's okay, something is going on with us. So at this particular moment, I wouldn't label myself as an atheist or attach myself to any particular way of life. At this point, I'm just curious alone on the God concept. And I also want to know is the origin of the Bible, how it came to us, how we got introduced to it, And also, can the Bible also liberate our people?
Let's give him a hand, 'cause that's awesome. Man, thank you for that. So a little bit on myself. Dr. Isaiah Simpson. I grew up in the church. I grew up in a household that believed in God. Grew up in the church. I showed signs of my calling in the ministry at a very young age. Everybody, even still to this day, be asking me, was your parents preachers? My parents are school teachers. I'm the only preacher in the household, or at least I was at that time. My grandmother is a minister. She was a minister in that time, and some people asked if she influenced me, but she couldn't influence me that heavy when I was laying hands on my kindergarten teacher. So certain things just kind of you're born with, and so I always had a real intimate relationship with God. Started my church when I was 8 years old. It was called the Spirituals of Temple of Glenwood, because that's where we live. And then in 2014, we moved it here and turned it to Of Christ. So last month, I just celebrated 14 years pastor. Was awarded went to Benedict University, currently at Governor State University, and I am studying for psychology, so I do psychology real heavy. I am very pro-black. Our church is very pro-black. I very much so enjoy the study of apologetics and theology. We're gonna get into that tonight too. And after I was about 19 years old, when I was summoned to study theology real strong and apologetics, hermeneutics, things of that sort. And I studied for a good year and a half, and and after writing 2 dissertations, was awarded an honorary doctorate of divinity degree and Christian metaphysics. So that's a little bit of my background. I had a faith struggle too. When I was 17 years old, I admitted this to my church online in front of my whole congregation, everything like that. When I was 17 years old, I was going through a real strong period where I was pastoring, of course. I was in my senior year of high school, and I had 2 traumatic things going on. My high school sweetheart was pregnant, and my dad was dying. Towards the end of that summer, we aborted the baby, and my father passed away. So I had 2 significant losses going on, and 2 significant losses that was going on in my mind and in my emotional life. And I had some questionings of my faith too during that time. Because my main thing was like, I do all this work for people, I pray for people, I lay hands on people recovered. Why couldn't I do that with my own pops? And so I had my own faith struggles too. So, but God is faithful, man, and I've realized that when you stay true to Him, He brings you out on top every time. And God is wiser and smarter than any of us. All we gotta do is just keep on living. He'll reveal Himself to us soon enough. That's my belief. All right, so we're going to jump into some questions, and let's get into the meat of it. Y'all ready? Yeah. All right,
real quick.
So I got some questions I wrote down that I really wanted to ask you. And this is my first question was from, I'm glad that my uncle is here, my big cousin's here, because I'm a part of this app called Marco Polo, and on this app we have a group. It's called Men of the Future. It's a body of all of our family members, and we have critical discussions. And I posed a question to them last week, and the question that I posed to them, I want to pose to you. And the question that I'm going to ask is, are you open-minded? And I'm sorry, can I? It's a dual question. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Are you open-minded, and if so, what does it mean to you to be open-minded?
I try to be open-minded as possible when it comes to understanding and comprehending people's dispositions on certain things and topics and stuff like that. Being open-minded to me, what it means is that you just not limited to what you think and how you think only. You open to people and their point of views. You might not agree. You might not agree with it, but you might understand what they're saying. So I feel like open-minded it really helps a lot, because you might have a job to do something, right? Let's say you work at a job or you get hired at a job. you might have a certain routine that you do, how you do your work every day, and a person might come along and say, "Hey, why don't you try it this way?" So it's like if you volunteer to try it that way, you open minded enough to okay, it's not just one way how to do this job; it's another way as well. So I feel like being open minded is definitely beneficial when it comes to different things.
I appreciate that, man, and I think you answered that sufficiently. I got a second. My second. I only got three questions really. My second question is, if the following evidence that is presented in the next 5 minutes, 3 minutes, if that following evidence can be proved, if the questions that you have has evidence to it and we prove it, would you be willing to accept that evidence as truth?
Yes.
I appreciate that. That's something. And I want to say this too while we at it, that I think it's phenomenal that you thought about your answer, because I think sometimes we be so quick to answer that we don't think about what our answer is. We don't really digest the question and the fullness of it. So I appreciate you taking that time to really think about it.
No.
Yes, sir. Third question is, well, I don't even have to ask that because I guess you already uncovered it. I guess if you want to go over it again, you can. But the third question I was going to ask you was, where are you mentally as far as your faith is concerned? Or I hate to use the term religion. Y'all know in this church we don't use that term. We don't believe in that. But where are you as far as your faith is concerned? Your belief systems as far as the divine is concerned. And how did you get there?
Really, it's been a journey for me. Getting to like with this whole belief and faith system and way of life. I went from being a Christian to at one point being a theist, to one point being an atheist at one point. Now it's like I'm at like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of situation where it's like I don't want to just, and that's the part of being open minded as well.
Yeah.
It's been a journey for me. So it's like 1 minute I think about something, I learn it, then it's like I keep going like, oh, I ain't see this certain type of way. So it's like where I stand with the God concept, I feel like me personally, I feel like the God concept is a little far fetched.
Okay.
Because I've heard various differences when it comes to God alone.
Yeah.
I've been told that God is a spirit. I've been told God is the Father. I've been told God is the Son, Christ as well. Right. All one and the same. Yeah. Also, people have their own interpretations and ideologies of what God is to them. So, like you said, you want to use the word religion, but I feel like religion kind of has the man who created religion has his own interpretation of what God is to him.
True.
And another thing I gotta say is that when it comes to belief, no two people will agree on every single thing all the time.
That's true.
Human nature.
I got folks in my church that if I was to ask them individually, do they believe such, which is written in our new members manual that we believe it, they probably will say no. So I'm with you on that. I ain't mean to stop you, but I hear you. Yeah.
But when it comes to belief and
that's
faith, true. It's hard for me to conceive a thought that somebody can agree on every single thing or what that belief or doctrine stands for.
Sure. Man. All right, let's dive. Y'all ready? You want to
say something?
Okay, do me a favor. Grab this, pass it on real quick, turn it on for them, because I want everybody that's watching around the country to hear.
I want to say that when this is hard for me. Listen, this is my home. Right? Yeah. This is my heritage. Is where we are. But the older you get, nobody is gonna ever think the exact same.
That's true.
And
thanks.
My thing is, I definitely believe in God, and I know it's a God. Yeah. My problem comes is when we try to make Jesus into God, because I hear a lot of people praying Jesus more than God, praising Jesus more than God. Not that I have a problem with it. I ain't gonna get into all of that.
We gonna get into it, cuz.
I believe that God is our consciousness. Okay. Every time I've ever prayed or talked or had idea about something, I'm talking to me. My biggest issue is that religion would have us believe in something outside of us, and if we believed in us as just as much as we believed in the religion, everything would be different.
We appreciate that comment. Real talk. Thank you for that. And I really appreciate that comment. Straight up. That's gonna help me dive into this combo. So, so are you at a place where you believe in God or no? Because I know you mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't get a clear understanding of it. Because I want to dive into some things with that.
When you say God, right, we gotta be real careful and real precise on what directly God is to us individually. Because some people will say it's a spirit, some people will say it's the Father, some people will say God, like he said, God is our conscience inside of us. So, people got their own ideologies of what God is to them. So when you say we believe in God, are you referring to God that's been presented to us throughout the course of religion? Are you talking about God? Because I've also heard people say God is energy.
That's a good question.
So when you say God alone, it depends on what place you're coming from when you say the word God.
Well, when I say do you believe in God, my question really is, do you believe in a supreme infinite intelligence that is greater than you?
More so like a higher power?
Sure.
It's a possibility that one could exist.
Do you believe in a creator?
One creator or creation?
Well, if there's a creation, then there has to be a creator. So do you believe in a creator?
Like as in one individual?
One individual.
No.
You believe in multiple creators?
It's kind of hard to describe because I feel like, everything has an origin, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like
I'm glad we all want to go with that.
I feel like if there's one creator, then who created the creator?
That's a really good question.
Because everything has an origin. Like I don't believe the Big Bang Theory. I don't think we just popped into existence. Because if that's the case, we'll be seeing stuff still popping up into existence.
Sure.
So it's kind of far-fetched, but I feel like at the same time, with the God concept alone, and as far as creation is concerned, it's so far-fetched where I feel like our human minds can't comprehend all the way.
Can I tap into that?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna tell you why I love what you just said with that. Because I think sometimes we get excited with the God concept, and I believe in this church that I'm about to show you something. God's not just a God above the moon, stars, and sun, but He's a God that walks, talks, and operates in bodies. Okay, my members know that God lives in people. So I don't teach that there's a sky God. I don't teach that there's a cloud God. I don't believe in that. I believe that God lives inside of people. But I do believe that He is a personal, intimate, and intelligent being. Sovereign, which means that He supports his own self. And I do believe that there is a creator. I believe that there's a creator for numerous reasons. If you don't mind, I want to share some with you. Well, I brought part of my dissertation tonight, and I would like for you to take it home. I made enough copies for you and your partner to take one. And whenever you get here, he can get it and check it out. Here you go, man.
Let me say something before you get to your dissertation too, because I ain't come just I want to be a part of it.
Sure.
Listen, I believe that definitely there is a God, a creator of all. The earth don't produce humans.
Right.
Meaning that if this rock was just riding in space or whatever it's doing, it don't create us out of it. It don't produce us. We had to be here or be brought here or created here for a reason. I know that it's when I say God, I'm gonna give you what I mean. What I mean is that everything that I've always been taught is that God is inside of me. Everything is inside of me. I choose to kind of take a route that I don't want other people's ideals to influence my ideal of God, because I talk to Him personally myself.
Right.
Nobody else will know that unless I mentioned it to them.
Right.
So for us to get a book, I look at it like that's God talking. Maybe God talking to those people, because you can't prove it, but I know that my color, my skin, our history, I know that I am of original persons that was here, person or sons.
Right.
Whether it's one or millions, it's kind of irrelevant to me, but I know that is something greater. I've been in positions that is something greater than me that controlled that.
Right.
My thoughts is just we must be careful of listening to other people's ideas about what God is, because it is a personal relationship between a person and their consciousness or whatever they believe they speak to.
I agree to that, and I'm about to take you to it in a second. I just want to make a comment to what he just said. He said we got to be careful with people's interpretations of who God is, and I think that we should take that with a grain of salt. I think we can look at that and have a dual perspective with that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, for instance, we're talking about people's correct me with a simple yes or no. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds like basically what you're saying is that we should be careful what we take as far as people's information that they give us about God, because we don't know whether or not it's credible or not. Or I'm not gonna say credible. It's based off of their experience, and we have our own individual experiences. Is that correct or am I wrong?
My ideas of that is that everybody sees this world we live in through different lenses.
Yes. Yeah.
Their lenses might not be to lead you astray or nothing like that.
Right.
But they're taught what they learn and what they aspect of whoever taught them or they seem to be. And if we're made in his image and made of him, which I know we are. I've witnessed my aunt, my uncle, the beginning of this church and everything perform things that we consider miraculous and miracles. Mm-hmm. I just know that to be us. So I don't see it literally as miraculous or miracles. I know that's part of our power because we are a part of something greater. We are, and it's not necessarily a black or white thing. Some people make it. My biggest thing is that I know that I live where I live at. I know that. Everything that I know come from where I live at. But the people that run where I live at have never had my best interest in mind. So what would make me think that, okay, because we have some books and we got some knowledges that they've clearly had hands on or whatever we get, we not getting it direct because we ain't even from where we from directly right now. So whatever we get has the hands of somebody else in it. Gosh. My thoughts is if I know you a thief or I know you a killer, if something come up missing or somebody come up dead, I ain't gonna act like I don't know what you are. Right. So with that being said, I know they mean us no good. Gosh. And so that is a big problem and part of it. It's not, like I say all the time, it's pressure when you don't want to conform or believe what you've always been taught to do. Right. And where we live is names for everything. Right. We ain't give them names. We just understand that this is what that means. Right. And so I just want to come to a place because you might not necessarily believe in Jesus and want to give your all to Jesus to make it to the next level, don't mean that you don't believe in God or don't mean you're atheist. Right. Because all my principles and everything that I come from Christianity or Israel. But and that's not to judge it. Like I've gained many great things for it. So I don't want to make light of it or act like it's just on the back burner. But you can't be mad from the knowledge that those that came before you got. You only could do your best to search for more and better knowledge. But when it comes, you can't be closed off to realizing that some of the ways you've been taught coming up have been wrong. Mm-hmm. We got to find a way to just do better, new and old, all combined. It's not about debunking or Christianity or nothing. It's just about if we are going to teach, let's try to be as knowledgeable as possible. Exactly. And 100% of the stuff that we saying, because when you have understanding of certain things, belief isn't necessarily needed.
I got not that that's bad. Mm-hmm. I got you. Let me take other comments.
Yep. I just had a question. So does that mean that you believe in divine or metaphysical impartation? That's for both of you guys.
What is? Let me break it down a little bit because it was going to be the same similar question I asked. Is that do you believe that God is intelligent enough to have representatives that would teach who He is and what He's about?
Or even it doesn't have to be God, it's a form of spiritual because that's why I said metaphysical. Anything outside of yourself, inspiration outside of yourself, besides yourself or another physical being.
I would say, real quick. I would say, okay, I'm gonna put it like this. I feel like the way we as humans have okay. I went to Detroit probably about 3 weeks ago, and I get the most randomest thoughts out of nowhere during the day or whatever. So I was talking to my mom, and I'm like, okay, he made a comment earlier. He said, spirituality tells you everything's within you, and religion tells you that everything's outside of you. So I'm in the mirror, I'm looking at myself, I'm like, okay, something designed our physical bodies a certain way. So I'm like, okay, maybe we all are connected to some type of source, but we don't know what that source is, but humans just give it a label to fill that void because it's unknown still to a lot of people. So I feel like I would be more spiritual than religious because I feel like religion is more of a man-made type thing, and I feel like spirituality deals with self and a little bit of part of science as well.
We refer to ourselves in this church as spiritual and not religious. I want to share with you just for the second time, 2 reasons why I know that God is real. The first reason why is because when you take a look at DNA, there is a genetic code inside of DNA. It's mathematical, and it is functioned and positioned in a way that every scholar and every scientist knows that it's formed by it's an intelligent design. So anytime you have a design, there has to be a designer. And I don't think our mothers and fathers, while having sex, are intelligently designing our cells and our DNA. Okay. So so we know that based off of DNA alone, that there's an intelligent design inside of DNA. And that intelligent design is caused by a designer. So then the question will be, who's the designer of the intelligent design that is within your DNA and every DNA and all DNA of specifically just human beings I'm talking about, but also in all living creatures, but specifically in human beings. So that is a very very concrete evidence of God's existence.
Let me say something else too about what you're saying about the mathematics of it all and stuff. It is not coincidence that our numbers are 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
The planets of our solar system is what? 9.
Mm-hmm.
How long do it take to have a baby? 9 months. None of that stuff is coincidental.
Right.
So it got to be something greater and bigger, but it's just the idea of a man trying to explain to me my relationship with what I'm talking to or having conversation to when I'm by myself in my alone time or meditating is just, I'm not really one to, and for your question, of course, because everything, when you're born, the first thing you do is look up to something. You look up to your mom to feed you. You look to your dad to lead you. So of course, but I just believe it's in my DNA, and I choose to look inward rather than outward sometimes.
Can I add something to you, Scratch, and then I gotta come back to my panelists? You can hold on to the mic because I want you to answer this. You said I believe it's in my DNA, which means for me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in your answer, which means for me that you're basically saying I don't need a preacher. Because let me pose a question first. You're saying I don't need a preacher. That's what I'm saying. I feel like you're saying because I have God within, and anything I need to know about God is within. That would make me pose a question to you that there's in your DNA that you know how to walk, but somebody has to pick your hands up and show you how to walk. It's in your DNA because your parents probably drove, your grandparents probably drove. It's in your DNA that you know how to drive and do the gear shift. Somebody got to show you how to do that. So how can you accurately say, this is a legitimate question, how can you accurately say that because it's in your DNA to know God, that somebody don't need to teach you about him?
Well, I'm not saying as a kid. It's when you a kid, you do kid things. When you become a man, you roll with a man. From a kid until I was able to learn for myself I relied on what I was told, which gives me my whole basis of who I am. That's why I would never ever talk bad about religion.
Right.
But I want a lot of people to realize that religion doesn't give you spirituality. You're born with that. If you are a brown-skinned person on this planet.
I agree with that.
So, if you're born with it, but you have been led by wise people that might know a little bit of something, when you come of age, it's on you to do your diligence to find your own information.
So do you
listen? No, let me finish.
Got you. Because this is going to get good.
I believe in you, and you're a pastor and a preacher. I might not lean on you like other folks might need to.
Sure.
But everybody, it's a lot of people out here just looking for someone to lead them somewhere. That's why a lot of people believe in the religion, because they believe in the heavens. They look up in the skies and they look at the ground when you think hell and all of those things. And all of that is just
that's extra.
That's fugaziness to me.
Yeah.
We need to look inside. We need to believe in each other. From the first second that we're born on earth, we're taught fear. Everything is no. Be careful. Ooh, fear. And I feel like a lot of the religion leads to fear. We live in a world that Trump say that we at war right now. It's to create fear in the masses for them to rely. It's called control, but it's also called browbeating you. It's mentally beating you down to make you feel like you need something outside of yourself to be safe. And it's just hard,
Can I say something?
Yes, and I want to ask a question.
Religion is sort of a tribal use of a thing. Whereas if we had faith comes when we're actively doing things and coming and going. And our faith is built up through our everyday experience.
Yes.
Religion is a thing that causes us to do the same thing over and over again because we're afraid.
Yes.
And I think that we should know the difference between religion and faith.
Thank you for that. And I want to add this too, because for me, because I will agree with what you're saying, but for me, I would add a little bit more on that. I'm going to come back to our panelists. Is that if God is so intelligent to put these things in you, He's going to be intelligent enough to give you what you need to function. Mm-hmm. Just like I drive an Infiniti. The Infiniti company is not stupid. They're not going to just give me a car.
Without a manual.
They're smart enough to put a manual in my car to show me how to use my car. I bought the car. I bought it. It's mine. I know, and I know how to drive. But there are different things about that Infiniti, different little details that I may not know. And so it would be intelligent for the designer of the Infiniti to produce for me a manual to be able to properly and effectively